Hi, this is Super Ducky Power, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a felt plushie of Professor Moolinda Wu from the game Wizard101, which is playable on computer. And so you're going to need a few bits of supplies today, but before we get into that, I would just like to add a disclaimer that these plushies are not suitable for use by children or pets because they do have small parts and they aren't quite sturdy enough for that, and please use caution when you handle the scissors, hot glue, and sewing needles that you'll need to use for this project. For the felt squares, you're going to need 2 shades of green for her robes, and then brown to use for her belt, and then you're going to want white because she's a cow, so she has white skin, and then black for the details in her hair, peach for her nose, and then cyan for her eyes, or her makeup of her eyes. And then you're going to want a pair of good scissors. I would suggest fabric scissors, but you could use regular scissors, a hot glue gun, and a few glue sticks that you're going to be using. Be careful with those. And then I use white thread. You can use any color thread, and then you'll just need a sewing needle. And then you're going to need stuffing, which I did not show in this portion. The first part we're going to be working on is the robe, and so the inner layer of the robe is going to be 2 robe-shaped pieces of the brown felt, and then that's going to be sandwiched between 2 pieces of the green felt, and these are going to be what makes it so she has like a few layers in her robe, but the top layer of her robe in the green part is actually going to be 2 pieces that you're going to layer over each other, and then the white part is just her collar that you're going to put in there. It's just a little, kind of like a bird shape that people draw on things, the quick little easy bird shape. And then I just super glued the collar, and then super glued the front of her robe together, the front pieces together, or onto the brown, and then I trimmed it up to make it a little bit easier, and then I hot glued the green back piece to the brown back piece, and then you're just going to take a piece of sewing thread and a needle, and you're going to want to start sewing that, and you're going to want to leave space for you to be able to put stuffing inside of this, and also to be able to attach her legs and her head, so you don't want to go all the way through. I just go from one shoulder to the bottom left. And then I stop there so we can do her legs at some point. And then I tie it off and close it and leave it like that for now. And then we're going to be making her legs and her feet especially. And so you're going to need your white piece of felt and your black piece of felt. And the white piece, you're just going to cut a little rectangle for her legs. And then you're going to cut these kind of hoof shapes that you're going to put on both sides of her legs. And then you're just going to glue those together with hot glue. And then we're going to actually be hot gluing those into the robe because the robe is essentially going to be her body in this project. So they have to be attached to her. And we're not going to double layer the legs, but see here, you're just going to glue those legs inside of the robe / body. And then we're going to get back to sewing in a moment. So now that the legs are attached, you're actually going to get back your sewing needle and thread, and you're going to sew from where you left off last time, and then you're going to sew through and around her leg pieces, which is a little bit hard, but you just got to avoid the little bits of glue, and you should be able to get your needle through and get it done. And then you're going to go all the way back up to the right shoulder, where you're going to stop because you are going to need to leave that head area open so that you can add in essentially her neck, her head, and then the stuffing inside of the body. So you're just going to want to cut it off right at that shoulder and tie it off, tuck it in, and we'll move on to the next step and get back to it later. And I just glued the little thread pieces inside, but you don't have to. And then for stuffing the body, I used stuffing that I just purchased on Amazon. I think I got I don't know, it was a really big bag, almost like the giant bags of popcorn you can buy at a supermarket. but so you're just gonna fill the body with that, and you don't want to fill it to the brim because you are going to need to sew it closed later, or glue it closed. And then to get this stuffing in there, you can mostly use your fingers because the body is actually a pretty big area of space, but you can see that I'm using a pen. I actually lost my dowel, which I used in previous videos to stuff. So I figured out that a pen does work, not for necessarily smaller areas, but for the purpose I was using it for in this section, it did work to stuff it that way. For the details of her robe, we're going to grab your other color of green in the brown, but for the brown, we're going to actually add the sort of trim on her robe, going from her shoulders and then down the front of her robe. And I just used hot glue to attach these, and I did pull it around to make a collar behind her, or on the back of her robe. And then I also used this as an opportunity to cover up some more of my thread that was loose. And you don't have to make this go all the way down. I kind of cut it off there where I know the belt's going to be. And so for the belt, you're going to take that green color, you're just going to wrap it around, cut it to the desired length and width, and then glue it on, or glue it together, and then glue it to the robe. And then after that, you're going to take your brown felt again, and with your brown felt, you're going to cut a smaller sort of wraparound belt, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to glue it to it, glue it together, and trim it up, and then make sure that it's secure. For Moolinda's head, you're going to take your white felt and you're going to make it so that then you can find approximately where the head would be able to fit within the robe. You're going to cut a small rectangle out of that, and then I cut the head shape directly out of that without any sort of like guidelines, but I will try to add that to the templates that I upload. But you're just going to need to cut out 2 of those head shapes, and I did not cut the ears with those. I tried to, but it wasn't going to work, so I cut them off and just made it the head shape itself, and then cut the ears separately, which you can just do by taking a rectangle, and you're not going to double up on the ears. You're just going to cut one of each, or one for each side, and make sure you like how they look, because we'll be attaching those soon to the head. And so then we're going to be gluing the ears right onto her head between the layers, so that you're not going to be able to see where they're stuck together, but we'll then be adding finer details in a moment. And then for the more detailed parts of Moolinda's head, we're going to first be cutting the hair, and the hair is kind of hard. You mostly kind of want to cut ovular shapes for the back of the head, and then an ovular shape but with a sort of bangs or a hairline for the front of her head, and then just a little oval to fill out her bun that you're going to be putting in between the layers. And you're just going to trim that up to make sure it's how you like, and then glue it all to the head pieces without gluing the head pieces together yet. And so there's the hair, and then you can just trim it all up, make sure it looks nice. And then for the details, you're going to need that teal or aqua, white, peach, and black. So the teal is going to be her eye makeup, so you're going to cut little ovals from that, and then her eyes are going to go on top of that, so you're going to have to cut smaller white ovals that are going to be her actual eyeballs, and they're going to sit on top of the eye makeup. And then you're going to need to cut some very small black circles to be the pupil of her eyes, and also to be her eyelashes, which are just going to be small triangles that you're going to fit under her eye but above the eye makeup, I believe. Yes. And then for the snout, you're going to cut an oval, and then you're going to cut 2 more small black ovals, or 2 small black ovals, attach those as her nostrils, and then you've got her face, and you just need to glue it all on and together to complete the front of her head. Oh, also with that peach color, you're going to want to cut smaller than the ear's actual shape, but equivalent to, or very similar to the ear shape you already have, that after having glued it to the head, you're going to cut the inner ear out of that peach color, and you're just going to glue that onto the ears as fits. And then once you have all your pieces glued to her face, we're actually going to take your needle and thread and we're going to start sewing. And so I started sewing under one ear and then I went around and under to the other ear because we are going to need to leave space to fit a little bit of stuffing in there again. So you don't want to close it off immediately, but you can kind of pause your sewing, throw some stuffing inside with a dowel or a pen or whatever you can need to use to get that in there, and then sew around. And sewing around the ears is going to be similar to sewing around the legs. It's a little bit difficult, but just don't sew straight through the glue and you should be able to get it done. And then we're going to add a sort of undershirt and the neck. And these are just pieces of white felt. I wrapped for the neck. I wrapped around little bits of the white felt and then just glued it together, glued it inside, and then glued the head to the neck. And then we're going to be working on the arms. For the arms, you're going to do the same as the legs, except for a little bit longer. But then for the robe sleeves, you're just going to take a piece of green felt that matches the robe base, and you're going to roll it around that arm, glue it closed, and then glue them straight onto the body. After you finish gluing the arms and making sure that everything is secure and cleaning things up, then you should have a completed Moolinda Wu plushie based on Professor Moolinda Wu from Wizard101, the life professor in Ravenwood in Wizard City. And I think she's pretty cute, honestly. If you've been following my Wizard101 plushie series, you know that this is the third plushie in the series. First was Headmaster Merle Ambrose, then Professor Halston Baelstrom of the Storm School, and now the Life Professor Moolinda Wu. In the future, I will be continuing plushie series 1. This is the third plushie out of the 8 I plan to make of Headmaster Ambrose, and then the 7 professors of the schools in Wizard101, which the last one should be completed early August, and then we'll move on to plushie series 2. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, day, night, wherever you are. And I hope you have a lot of fun making this if you choose to. And yeah, I will try to upload step-by-step instructions, a written supply list, and a template for some of the more difficult pieces of Moolinda, although some of them are going to have to be measured on your own based on your previous pieces, but hopefully it's not too difficult, and if it is, let me know and I can maybe try and help you problem solve if you run into any issues. Yeah, thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.